Have you ever stood in your living room, looked around at the clutter, and felt completely overwhelmed? Not just by the mess, but by the voice in your head saying, I should have this figured out by now. Here's what nobody tells you about decluttering. Your home isn't messy because you're lazy or disorganized. Your home is reflecting exactly what's happening in your mind. And today, I'm going to show you the 7 mental habits that are secretly sabotaging your efforts to create the peaceful, beautiful space you deserve.
Hello, beautiful souls. I'm so grateful you're here with me today because what we're about to explore together is going to be life-changing. If you've been struggling with clutter and feeling frustrated that traditional organizing tips just aren't sticking, this video is specifically for you. Before we dive in, I want to ask you to do me a small favor. If this topic resonates with you, would you give this video a thumbs up? It helps me reach more women who need to hear this message. And if you're serious about creating lasting change in your home and your life, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our conversations about intentional living. Now, let me be completely honest with you. For years, I believed that decluttering was about finding the right storage solutions or following the perfect system. I bought bins, labels, and organizers thinking they would solve everything. But here's what I discovered. Decluttering isn't just about your stuff, it's about your mind. The chaos in your home is often a direct reflection of the mental patterns and habits you've been carrying, sometimes for decades. Today, we're going to examine 7 mental habits that keep your home in chaos. More importantly, I'm going to give you practical, gentle strategies to shift these patterns so you can finally create the serene, organized home you've always dreamed of. Mental habit 1. The I might need it someday trap. Let's start with perhaps the most common mental habit that keeps our homes cluttered, the I might need it someday mindset. This habit stems from a fear of scarcity, a deep-seated worry that if you let something go, you'll need it later and won't be able to replace it. This mental pattern often develops from real experiences. Maybe you grew up during tough economic times, or you've lived through periods of genuine scarcity. Your brain learned to hold on to things as a survival mechanism, and that was actually wise at the time. But now, this protective pattern might be keeping you trapped in a home filled with just-in-case items. Here's how this shows up. You keep broken appliances because you might fix them someday. You hold on to clothes that don't fit because you might need them if your weight changes. You save every jar and container because they might be useful for something. The mental shift you need to make is moving from scarcity thinking to abundance thinking. This doesn't mean being wasteful or irresponsible. It means trusting that you're resourceful enough to handle future needs when they arise. Here's a gentle exercise to help you break this habit. When you're holding an item and that I might need it someday voice starts speaking, ask yourself 3 questions. Have I used this in the past year? Do I have a specific plan for using it in the next 6 months? And would I buy this item today if I needed it? If the answers are no, no, and yes, you can confidently let it go. Remember, you're not just clearing physical space, you're clearing mental space and reducing the cognitive load of managing all these someday items. Mental habit number 2. Perfectionism paralysis. The second mental habit that creates chaos in your home is perfectionism paralysis. This is when you become so focused on doing things perfectly that you end up doing nothing at all. Here's how this shows up. You want to organize your entire closet, but since you only have 30 minutes, you don't start because you can't finish the whole project. You avoid having guests over because your home isn't perfect yet. You buy organizing books and watch decluttering videos, but never actually begin because you're waiting for the perfect system or the perfect time. The truth is, perfectionism isn't about having high standards, it's about fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. But here's what I want you to understand. Progress, not perfection, creates transformation. The mental shift you need is embracing good enough as truly good enough. Your home doesn't need to look like a magazine spread to be beautiful and functional. It needs to work for your life, support your well-being, and reflect who you are now. Start with the 15-minute rule. Set a timer for 15 minutes and work on one small area. When the timer goes off, stop. Celebrate what you accomplished, even if it's just clearing one drawer or one corner of a room. This breaks the perfectionism cycle and builds momentum. Remember, done is better than perfect. A partially organized closet where you can actually find your clothes is infinitely better than a perfectly planned system that exists only in your mind. Mental habit third, emotional attachment to objects. The third mental habit is excessive emotional attachment to objects. This happens when we assign emotional significance to items that goes beyond their practical purpose. Now, I want to be clear, it's completely natural and healthy to have emotional connections to certain meaningful objects. The problem arises when almost everything in your home carries emotional weight, making it impossible to let anything go. This might sound like, I can't donate this vase because my neighbor gave it to me 20 years ago, even though I don't like it and never use it. Or, I have to keep all these books because throwing them away would be disrespectful to the knowledge they contain. The mental shift here is learning to separate the emotion from the object. The love you have for your neighbor isn't contained in that vase. It's in your heart and in your memories. The wisdom from those books isn't lost when you donate them. It's part of who you've become. Here's a compassionate approach. When you encounter an item with emotional significance, pause and ask yourself, what is this object representing to me? Then ask, do I need to keep this physical item to honor that feeling or memory? Sometimes the answer will be yes, and that's perfectly okay. But often, you'll discover that you can honor the emotion while releasing the object. You might take a photo of the item, write a note in your journal about the memory, or find another way to acknowledge its significance before letting it go. Mental habit number 4, the all or nothing mentality. The fourth mental habit is the all or nothing mentality. This is when you believe that if you can't completely transform your entire home, there's no point in doing anything at all. This pattern often develops from our culture's obsession with dramatic makeovers and before and after transformations. We see these amazing home transformations on social media and think that's the only way to create change. But real, lasting transformation happens through small, consistent actions over time. The all-or-nothing mentality creates overwhelm, which leads to procrastination, which creates more clutter, which increases overwhelm. It's a vicious cycle that keeps you stuck. The mental shift you need is embracing incremental progress. Instead of thinking you need to declutter your entire home in a weekend, commit to decluttering one category of items per week. Instead of reorganizing your entire kitchen, focus on one cabinet or one drawer. Here's a practical approach. Choose one small area of your home, maybe the coffee table, your bedside table, or the kitchen counter. Spend just 10 minutes clearing and organizing this space. Then, maintain just this one area for a week. Notice how good it feels to have this one peaceful spot in your home. Once this feels natural, add another small area. This gradual approach builds sustainable habits and prevents the overwhelm that leads to giving up. Mental habit number 5, guilt-based decision-making. The fifth mental habit is making decisions based on guilt rather than what truly serves you. This is incredibly common, especially for women who have been socialized to prioritize others' needs and feelings over their own. Guilt-based decision-making sounds like, I can't donate these dishes because they were a wedding gift, even though I never use them. Or, I need to keep my children's artwork forever because throwing it away would make me a bad mother. Or, I can't get rid of these books because someone might think I'm not intellectual. Here's what I want you to understand. Keeping items out of guilt doesn't honor anyone. It doesn't honor the person who gave you the gift, it doesn't honor your children, and it certainly doesn't honor you. What honors people is making thoughtful decisions that support your well-being and create a home that truly serves your life. The mental shift is moving from guilt-based decisions to values-based decisions. Instead of asking, "What will people think?" ask, "What aligns with my values and supports the life I want to live?" When you encounter an item that triggers guilt, try this reframing exercise. Instead of focusing on what you're supposed to do, ask yourself, "What would love do here?" Love might mean keeping the item if it truly brings you joy. But love might also mean releasing it so it can serve someone else while freeing you from the burden of guilt. Now, before we continue with the final 2 mental habits, I want to check in with you. Are you recognizing some of these patterns in your own life? If this is resonating with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Share which mental habit you recognize most in yourself. There's no judgment here, just support and understanding. And if you're finding this helpful, would you consider sharing this video with a friend who might benefit from hearing this message? Sometimes we need that gentle reminder that we're not alone in these struggles. Mental habit #6. Future self fantasy. The 6th mental habit is what I call future self fantasy. This is when you keep items for an imaginary future version of yourself who has different interests, a different lifestyle, or different priorities. This might look like keeping exercise equipment for the person you'll be when you're motivated to work out every day, or holding on to craft supplies for when you have time to pursue all those creative projects, or keeping professional clothes for when you return to a career you left years ago. There's nothing wrong with having aspirations and goals. The problem arises when your present self is overwhelmed by the belongings of multiple future selves who may never actually exist. The mental shift here is accepting and honoring who you are right now. Your current self deserves to live in a space that supports your actual life, not the fantasy life you think you should want. Here's a gentle way to approach this. When you encounter items you're keeping for your future self, ask, "Is this item supporting who I am today?" If not, consider whether this future self is a genuine aspiration or just a should that you've internalized. If it's a genuine aspiration, keep a few meaningful items that truly inspire you. But if it's just a should, give yourself permission to let it go. You can always acquire new items if your interests genuinely change. Mental habit 7. The identity crisis trap. The 7th and final mental habit is the identity crisis trap. This happens when you hold on to items because you believe they define who you are, even when they no longer serve you. This might sound like, "I can't get rid of these books because I'm an intellectual person," or "I need to keep all this art supplies because I'm a creative person," or "I can't donate these kitchen gadgets because I'm someone who cooks." The fear underneath this pattern is that if you let go of these items, you'll somehow lose part of yourself. But here's the truth. You are not your possessions. Your intelligence isn't stored in your books. Your creativity isn't contained in your art supplies. And your identity as a cook isn't dependent on owning every kitchen gadget. The mental shift is understanding that your identity comes from your actions, your values, and your character, not from your possessions. You can be an intellectual person who owns very few books because you use the library. You can be a creative person who has a simple set of art supplies that you actually use. You can be someone who loves cooking with a streamlined collection of tools that bring you joy. When you encounter items that feel tied to your identity, ask yourself, does owning this item actually support me in living out this aspect of who I am? If you're holding on to 200 books but never have time to read because you're too busy managing your possessions, those books aren't supporting your identity as a reader. They're hindering it. As we wrap up our time together today, I want you to remember something important. Recognizing these mental habits isn't about judging yourself or feeling ashamed. It's about understanding the deeper patterns that have been guiding your decisions so you can make different choices moving forward. Change doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Start with awareness. Notice when these mental habits show up in your decision-making. Be gentle with yourself as you practice new ways of thinking. Remember that every small step you take is meaningful progress. Your home is meant to be a sanctuary that supports your well-being, not a source of stress or overwhelm. You deserve to live in a space that reflects who you are today and supports the life you want to live. These mental shifts we've discussed today are tools to help you create that space. I want to leave you with this thought. Decluttering your mind is just as important as decluttering your home. In fact, it's more important because lasting change always starts from the inside out. When you clear the mental clutter, the guilt, the fear, the perfectionism, the shoulds, you create space for clarity, peace, and intentional decision-making. Before you go, I'd love to connect with you further. If this video has been helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more conversations about intentional living and creating homes that truly serve you. Ring that notification bell so you never miss our weekly videos. In the comments below, I'd love to hear which of these 7 mental habits resonated most with you. And if you're ready to take action, share one small step you're going to take this week to shift that mental pattern. Remember, we're all in this journey together, and your courage to share might inspire someone else to take their first step too. If you found this valuable, please share it with a friend who might benefit from this message. Sometimes we need that gentle reminder that we're not alone in these struggles and that change is possible. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Remember, you are worthy of a peaceful, beautiful home that supports your well-being. You have everything you need within you to create the change you desire. I believe in you, and I'm here cheering you on every step of the way. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and trust the process. You've got this.